Let's make a Christmas tree pillow. Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. You may have seen our videos on how to make ruffled throw pillows. They're really fun to make. These are just plain pillows. They've got a single ruffle on them. So today we're going to do something a little fancier. We're going to make a pillow with a pieced ruffle. So this is actually made from a strip set. These are made from jelly roll pieces, the 2.5-inch strips. So I'm going to show you how to make this really fun ruffle. And I'm also going to put an applique on here. I'm going to put a tree applique. I think I've got it all figured out here. So these are my sketches on what we're going to cut. So let's go over to the workroom and we'll get started cutting and we'll make a really nice pillow. This is the tree shape we're going to use. I've already got mine cut out. We will have this pattern as a free download so you can get the template and cut out your applique. So that's my tree. I'm going to have a little stem. This is the background fabric, and these ones over here are all going to be used in our pieced ruffle, and then we'll use this pretty snowflake fabric on the back of the pillow. So I'm going to go ahead and iron up some fabrics and get all of the pieces cut. The first piece we need is the background. This is a 12.5-inch square. Here's the tree on the background. I'm going to put it pretty near the top, and I'm going to cut a little stem down here, and the stem is going to go all the way off the bottom of the pillow there. I've got a little stem here. It's 1.25 inches wide, and I'm going to center it up. I will measure it to make sure it's in the center, and I'm just going to tuck it right under there. I'm going to use basting glue to get my tree and the trunk onto the background. So this is a water-soluble product, and I'm just going to flip this up a little, and I'm just going to put little dots all around the edge here. And I'm going to put it really close to the edge. So that will hold it down while we applique, and after we're done gluing it, we are going to iron it to make sure that the glue is really, really dry. So all you want to do is go around your pieces a little bit at a time and put this glue on it. If you prefer to do needle turn applique, that's a good method to use. You can also print the template off and put it onto fusible, and you can then put that fusible onto your tree fabric before you cut it, and then you can fuse the tree onto the background. So there's a lot of methods for getting your tree attached to your background. Once you have the tree all the way glued down, you want to use a dry iron, and this will make sure that that glue is really, really dry before you start sewing with it. Now, the glue basting that we're using, it won't gum up your machine. It's machine washable. It's water soluble. So we only put it right near the very edge. So we're going to use a zigzag stitch. I'm probably not even going to be going through the glue, but it's nice to know that this will not gum up your machine. I have the tree all ready to applique here, and I've made some practice stitching on my little home machine. I have a little Singer patchwork machine. It's a very basic machine, but it will do a nice zigzag that my big commercial machine will not do. So I always mess around with the stitching to see how wide I want it and how close I want the stitching. And I'm going to do this one right here because it's a nice even satin stitch. So the idea when you applique is to make your stitching hit right outside your patchwork piece or your applique piece, and then cover up quite a bit of it. So we want most of the stitching on top of the tree. So I've got the machine all ready to go, and I'm going to use a black thread. And no matter how you have put your applique on here, whether you've used glue basting or whether you have ironed it on fusible, you need to put some sort of stabilizer beneath it. I just use a sheet of newsprint. There are special products. There's one called Stitch and Tear, and they're specifically made for appliquing, but you just need to put something under here to keep this nice and flat as you applique. this is the corner I'm going to start at, and I'm going to go all the way around the tree. The satin stitch really frames your applique very nicely. It makes a nice solid line all the way around. So I'm coming to the first corner here. So I'm going to want to pivot when I get to that corner. I'm going to leave the needle in on the side, and then I'm going to lift the presser foot and turn it around. So stitch to the corner, you might have to hand feed the last few stitches so that you can get it really exactly in the spot where you want. So I want to stop right there. I'm going to leave the needle down, lift the presser foot up, and spin it around. And in this case, because I've got less than a 90-degree angle, I'm actually going to take the needle up and move the tree forward a tiny bit. So let me show you. I'm going to lift it up, slide forward a little, then put the presser foot down, and I'll get a nice point that way. Now we're coming to one of the inside corners. You need to go a little bit farther here. And we're going to leave the needle down and pivot. Now you have to think, which way is my needle going to go? Now my needle is going to go this way. So I need to stitch a little bit farther. So I'm going to spin it back around. Go a few more stitches. Lift the presser foot up, try it again, and see if I'm in position. Oh, that's much better. So you can always test it out. If you don't like where you stopped, just spin it back around. Now we just have to do the stem. Now some people like to applique the stem first and start up above here and go down, but I found that it makes it a little bit lumpy, so I'm going to start just up in this stitching just a little bit so that it's overlapped a little but not too much, and then it won't be real lumpy. Now we need to remove the stabilizer from the back. Since our stitch is so small, this is just going to tear off really, really easily. And even though it was really flat to begin with, I do like to iron it before we move on. So now all that paper is gone. Looks really, really nice. You can see it's not completely flat, so we're going to go iron it up again. Now we're ready to put the borders on. I'm going to cut 2-inch wide borders to go around the patchwork. Now, I ironed a little bit of every bolt here, so this fabric actually is ironed. I'm not just cutting it fresh off the bolt. You really will get much more accurate cuts if you iron everything first. And I do like to cut these 2 lengths, so I need 2 pieces 12.5 and 2 pieces 15.5. I've switched back to my single needle industrial just because it's so much quicker for me to sew on. Of course, the Singer patchwork machine would work great for this. I'm just much more used to this guy here. So these are cut exactly to the size you need, so they sew on really fast. And I'm going to be pressing all seam allowances away from the center. So I'm just going to give it a little finger press right there. Do the other side, do the top and the bottom, and then we'll iron it. Now that the pillow top is all done, I'm going to put it onto a piece of batting so that the top of the pillow will have just a little body. And then you could quilt it a little if you like, or you can just use the batting as a lining, which is what I'm going to do. So I've found that if I don't use something behind the pillow top, even though I've got a pillow inside it, it looks kind of baggy. So I always put a piece of batting. Sometimes I use a piece of batting and another fabric, especially if I'm going to quilt it, to give it just a little more body, and it really looks a lot better when you stuff your pillow. So I'm just going to stitch right around the edge here, and this will hold everything in place. Our pillow top is all done, and we could just put a nice printed ruffle on it like this. That would look beautiful, but I want to do something fancier. So this ruffle here, it's patchwork. So we're going to take 4 different Christmas prints. We're going to take these 4 here, and we're going to make a patchwork ruffle.
Thanks for watching the video on this beautiful Christmas pillow. You can check back later for part 2 if you want to see how Donna puts the ruffling on. And we'll see you next time.